Hey, good morning. It's Saturday, March 6th. I like being outside on Saturdays when the weather is good, and today's a perfect day for it. I want to continue talking about purity because it's something that we can, on one hand, never think too much about. It's important to be consumed with purity, whether we are males or females. But there's a responsibility for men. I think Psalm 119 that we looked at last night makes a specific application of why it's important for men to embrace purity. Purity is not for the faint of heart or being timid. Purity is about embracing the things of God, and that takes great courage to do that. James defines wisdom from above in contrast to wisdom from below. The wisdom from below is those folks who have nasty tongues, who tear down other people, where there's deceit, where there's anxiety, where there's stress, where there's selfish ambition. That's wisdom from below. Wisdom from above, there's 7 categories there in James. Got a little airplane going over. Seven categories in wisdom from above in James 3:17. But the first element of wisdom from above is to be pure. And in its most basic form, being pure means to be undefiled. And that lack of being defiled comes from our union with Christ. But then we have a choice to live that way. So I long to be what God has made me already to be. That's the struggle of progressive sanctification. That's the struggle of the Christian life. We are at war. Galatians 5 talks about this battle between the flesh and the spirit. What I want in my flesh and what the Spirit of God is calling me to. So purity, then, means I have a singular focus on what it means to honor God. Now that has a particular construct in terms of relationships, and we're going to look at that more tonight and Monday. But first of all, let's just get this real clear in our minds. Purity is an undefiled desire to do what God wants, to live as members of the kingdom of truth, the kingdom of heaven, to live for wisdom from above instead of being pulled down by wisdom from below. Because wisdom below, it entangles us and pulls us back. It's like a long octopus reaching out and pulling us down. And it's a fight. It's a struggle. That's why it's called warfare. Christian warfare, spiritual warfare. So being pure then is not for the timid, because being pure will set you apart from people who are driven by lust. Being pure is not giving in to my own desires. Being pure is not doing what I want. Being pure is giving myself to what God wants. So whether it's in this issue of pornography, it's giving in to what your flesh wants. No one can make an argument, at least no sane person, no person that really says they love God, can make an argument that pornography is good. It's destructive, it tears people apart, it tears relationships apart, it's destroying marriages right now. Our young men are being sucked into the cancer of pornography because they're giving in to their own lust. See, a person who is pure is sensitive to what God wants. So Ephesians 4 describes the person who is sensitive and not given unto God, as opposed to the person who is sensual. Sensitive means I care about you. Sensuality means I care about me. And that's the opposite of purity. Purity is being aligned with what God wants. And so before we look at it in particular relationship, particular relationship to relationships, we have to understand that there is something about purity. This is not a selfish act. This is an act that takes tremendous courage and brings me into conflict with this world around me. That's why I say purity is not for the timid. Because if you want to be pure, you're going to be in conflict. We live in a time now when we have a government which is content and intent on passing laws that justify lust. That whatever you want, it's okay. Whatever kind of sexual relationship you want, it's okay. It's not okay to read certain children's books, but it's okay to pursue your own lusts. We live in a time when standing up for what God says is right in terms of your own personal life will bring attack, both spiritual attack and attack from people. So being pure is not for the timid. But if we're going to help our young men to overcome this battle and to become men who embrace purity, who will then encourage their wives, people they interact with, their children, we've got to help them see that this purity is about loving God with all of our hearts, not giving in to the desires that will corrupt and lead us to abuse and garbage, pornography and hurt, but rather giving into desires, creating new desires where God is first, that are pure and undefiled. Pray for this. This is not easy, but it is what God's called us to. Christ died so that we could know purity. Think about that this day. Again, thanks so much for being here, and Lord willing, we'll be back tonight. Have a great day. Bye-bye.